If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools to allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Happy Tuesday. Right? Is it not? It's Tuesday. It's going to be Tuesday. It's dropping Tuesday. Hey, it's late edition, and it's okay.
Yeah, Tuesday. Nothing wrong with Tuesday, right?
No.
Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday.
How about Slap Your Mama Tuesday?
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Will Smith.
Slap you everything. Right?
Dude, I didn't see it. You know what's so crazy? I didn't see it live. I was actually watching, we were going between March Madness and...
Who watches the Oscars anyway?
I watched the Oscars.
You'd be surprised.
Bro.
There's a lot of people that watch the Oscars,
bro.
You watch the Oscars?
I'm not one of them.
I love the Oscars.
But
You know,
it's actually got a solid
part of
following.
it's in your wheelhouse.
That's true.
It's true.
You got a vested interest.
That's
Yeah,
true.
You do.
That's true. It is my wheelhouse, right? But I'm saying, like, as far as the reason I didn't watch it this time, it's kind of gotten old, right? You know what I mean? Like, as far as
Predictable.
well, the COVID and everything. So the COVID was happening. So movies and stuff weren't really like
Good.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It was
They
some
didn't have enough movies.
Well,
Well, no,
some
they
shit.
had the movies.
Bro, there was some.
They just shelved them,
Bro, there's
because
some shitty.
They didn't want to lose out on the profit.
Understandable. You know?
Oh, no,
It's a
understandable.
business- it's a
right.
business
It's a
move.
business.
And he had a lot of COVID restrictions and,
Right.
and whatnot. So anyway, I was watching like March Madness. This is, and you guys already know, like with my brother-in-law passing, this is what him and his father did. Kate's dad, they did. They basically was the March Madness thing. So I've been really taking the time, putting my energy in, and trying to be like supportive in that sense, as far as trying to not fill a void, but kind of like help. I think filling the void kind of sounds
But I get what you're
disrespectful.
saying,
You know
though.
what I mean?
So you're watching it with.
Yeah.
Or parents, because that's what
You
her
showing
brother would-
love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's it,
I'm doing something I wouldn't normally do.
Right.
Being supportive of.
So you normally don't watch March Madness.
Nah, not a fan. I like the playoffs. I'm an NBA dude. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I like that side of it. Like as far as professional, I like NBA professionals. And basketball. That's what I was. You grew up what? Did you like watching North Carolina and all this other crap?
I'm both. I'm a sports dude. So March Madness, NBA, NFL.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I'm sports. So
Got you. Okay, so what about you, Jeff?
So really, never really been a big college guy. So
Okay.
about college sports.
Gotcha.
As I've gotten older, I've
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
tapped into it a little more,
Yeah.
and I'm starting to see the intrigue that people talk about because as you get into the college space, you never know. Like
Yeah.
sometimes in the professional space, maybe mid-season, even before the season starts, you have
Yeah,
a pretty
yeah.
good idea who's going to be at the end. Like just taking this recent scenario
Yeah.
here, like. I think about what was it? The second round, there's a crap load of number ones that was out. Like it's crazy.
Yeah,
so
it was
there's-
crazy.
there's
Upsets,
an
a bunch of
appeal.
upsets,
Yeah, there's
yeah.
an appeal to that. Like on literally, what's the saying? On any given day, right?
That's right.
And I like the Cinderella stories of like these. And I mean no disrespect when I say this, but like these no-name schools that find themselves pretty deep into the tournament. Like
It's
I love
intriguing.
these stories.
It's
Yeah,
intriguing.
you
Yeah.
want to root for the underdog
You do.
always.
Yeah, I agree.
So, well, getting back to that's why I didn't get to watch it. We were watching it here and there, like checking out some tidbits of it, and I heard also because of the COVID, they didn't even have like they gave like a bunch of the awards ahead of time. Just for protocol, like so let's say like the unimportant awards, like you're the best foreign, whatever film, blah blah blah. Throw that shit up in there. So they received it earlier than some, right? So anyway, so I got home and Kate's mom texted me. She was like, "Oh, you see what happened to Chris Rock?" And whoa, and I'm like, "Huh?" She was like, "Will Smith has lost his damn mind." I'm like, "The hell?" I was like, "What's going on?" So I was like, "Nah." I'm like, maybe some skid happened. I was like, "Nah, whatever." I was like, "I'll have to Google it, bruh." I was like, "Let me just Google this shit."
Right.
So I was like, Google Will Smith, and I'm like, I'm watching, and I'm like, what's going on here? Dude, when I seen that, I was like, is it real? Because, I was like, the angle.
You do kind of question it at first.
Bro, because the angle,
like,
it was
had to
like,
be in on this, right? Like, it was a staged deal, right?
Yeah, so I'm like, is it real? Because it was like the angle didn't switch, and I'm like, if someone's coming up to the stage, why did they just leave it on that forward left angle?
Right.
Was it also because it's Will Smith too, right? The person.
Yeah.
Because Will Smith isn't known to be walking on stage
and he smiled. So he like hit him or whatever and smiled. He walked off smiling and looking dapper. So I was like, nah, this can't be real.
Right.
And then I heard because at first you had to find, it was like, finding the lost footage of the Ark, like of the Titanic.
Footage of the Loch Ness Monster.
It was like, seriously, you had to find this footage. So I'm like,
well, it was so fresh too.
Yeah. So I'm looking and I'm like, because everything had it blanked out, and I was like, well, I'm reading his lips. So I found one that had it blanked out. He was like, Will Smith was like, yeah, and he's like, keep, and I'm mouthing, keep your my wife's name out your mouth. It's so crazy. Why am I like mouthing the F word when I curse?
I don't know. I was letting it all happen though. Go for it.
Yeah.
Like I curse all the time.
You're in the moment. Own it.
Nah, it just feels wrong because I feel like pressure. Like people are pressuring me to do this. Nah. You do it, Jeff. Yo, Jeff don't even curse.
You're the one retelling the story.
Yo, Ray, Jeff,
it's your story, bro.
Nah, you don't even curse, bro.
Fuck out of here.
Yo, go back and say that. Yo, let's go back and say that. Yo, that's one for he giggling too though. That shit's crazy. I feel like I just feel like we tainted Jeff. Ray don't even curse.
Nah, you know what? I don't think.
But he's been around me enough with this because I'm like Ray. He's cursed by being associated with me.
Everybody I know curses, so it's no big thing.
Nah. So, what did you guys think though? I mean, when that shit happened, I was like, damn. I thought after I saw that and I saw the look on Chris Rock's face, man. I saw like, and then the fact he had to try to get through that, and he was stumbling and trying to like present the nominees for the best documentary or something.
Yeah, I'll let you go first, Jay.
You gonna let me go first?
Yeah, go
All right.
first.
So I've got multiple takes on this, right?
Yeah.
First and foremost, I love these two people, right?
Okay.
As far as just some of the creative genius that they've put forth in their art form, I have a high level of praise for both of them. Second of all, let this be known, in no way am I condoning, human on human crime, let alone brown on brown crime, right? Okay, let's do that. Now that I've thrown all of that out of the way, it was some of the most gangster shit I've seen real time. Okay,
You talking about the open hand?
Listen, I'm going to tell you why. It wasn't just the execution; it was everything leading up to it. Right? It's the stroll up to the stage. Right?
Yeah.
It's the angle at how far back he comes back. Hold up, we're keeping it real, right? Like, this is real. Usually you get politically correct Jeff, and he will return shortly. But in the meantime, let's just take a look at this. Have you guys witnessed anything like that in that setting on national television before?
Not at the Oscars.
Not
stage.
Not getting pimp slapped like
But
that.
like stage, yes. We've seen stuff,
So this man comes back, all right? It felt like he held it there for a while. The angle perfect, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then he comes through, and it is like Mortal Kombat finish him, right? It is a they tell you don't strike the ball, you strike through the ball. Okay, so he followed through with the full slap. That's not something that I have witnessed in that setting before. So that's like a wow.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. Then when you know like the person that delivered that and his pedigree and, what you expect of him and how he's carried himself in all honesty, in what I consider to be some really trying moments, whether it's questions around his relationship or his kids and stuff like that. Yeah. He's navigated those spaces, what I felt like so successfully, like so tastefully. And to see that displayed was like, wow. Like is that Fresh Prince from Philly? Is that Philly that just came out? Clearly, he forgot about Bel Air and he went back to the streets of Philly. Okay, maybe he tapped into a whole new avenue because this new Fresh Prince came out, and you know what? He's like really channeling his inner. I don't know. Right?
The hood came back.
I don't know. And then for that to play out the way it did for Chris Rock, who clearly didn't see this coming. Yeah. You could see he was a little taken back and was like, wow, okay. But for him to have the composure, right, to still get back into the flow of things and like keep the show going and not escalate it or make it a big deal, it was just really a very interesting scenario of events. Now, am I disappointed? I am, right, because I have greater expectations of both those individuals. Can we say that, you know, Chris's joke was maybe not so tasteful? Hands down. But was Will's actions somehow justified? Hell to the no. You know what I'm saying? Like, we see these shows all the time. There's jokes going left and right. You know, there's mention that there might be a history there. That's all well and good. But, you know, I think the biggest disappointment was, as much as I crack jokes and I'm talking about like, wow, perfect execution, it was a disappointment to see our people, like, you know, two people that I have a high level of respect for, who have really left their mark, you know, in this particular industry, you know, with their art. To see that whole thing play out on stage in that setting, I kind of felt like, that was a setback, you know, like I feel like, you know, that we get outside of the jokes, it kind of felt like a setback. So, you know, whether he's defending his lady's honor, or whatever the case may be, that was not it. That was not it.
Gotcha.
Though it was perfectly executed.
So I agree with a lot of things you just said there, but also at the same time, I think that, okay, when it first happened, I noticed that Will was laughing.
Oh, you mean with the joke?
With the joke.
Okay.
With the joke, he laughed. Jada didn't laugh, but he did. Yeah. Now, I don't know if that was, you know, him laughing because it was funny or him laughing because he was shocked by what he said.
Or him laughing because he's like, I'm about to go smack the hell out of this dude.
Maybe. I don't know. But at the same time, as a man, you know who you can fight or who you can punk, and you know who you can't. Because I think he figured that, you know, Chris Rock is not really a fighter. So I can go up there and smack Chris Rock and nothing's going to happen to me. That's kind of how I feel about it, because I don't think, like, if it was someone else, that would have never happened. Right. Like D.L. Hughley, Steve Harvey, I don't think that would have happened at all.
Steve Harvey?
Now, the argument will be those guys wouldn't take it.
Steve Harvey wouldn't. Well, Steve Harvey, I don't think he would take that.
Yeah, but Will Smith's kind of, I mean, this dude can box, you know, because he was.
That was movie.
Nah, bro. He trained for that.
Yeah, that was acting.
Nah. He trained for that. Will Smith, one of those people that
he's acting.
He did train for that, but you know what? The flip to what you're saying, though, Ray, is even if it doesn't turn into a physical altercation, Steve Harvey ain't letting that slide without you feeling it for the rest of the show.
I agree.
Right?
No, I agree.
It's smoke coming your direction pretty much for days to come. So,
and he would have called it out before. Hey, where you going?
Right.
What you coming up here for?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, Chris Rock just stood there like this. Okay, he's coming. But it's just
he said, "Oh, Richard, the king coming." Yo, Richard Williams stepped on that stage.
But it was almost like Jada had told him, like, "Will, you gonna do something?"
Well, she gave him that look, and
Tupac would have did something.
Yo,
right? Well, there's certain dudes, right?
We talked about this off camera. Like, honest to goodness, how many times have any of you guys ever experienced? Sometimes, and I'm not talking about anything comfort, like it doesn't have to be physical, but we've all been in a situation where our woman kind of presses our button to like do something.
Yeah.
But we're like, we let it roll off our backs, and we know once we know it offends them, we know we're gonna get shit after if we don't stand up and do something. So I felt like we'll let it roll off because. Well, let's actually get to the background of it. The fact was the G.I. Jane 2 something to that joke, but the fact that she has a disease, what was it called? The
Alopecia.
Show, yeah, that basically has like
autoimmune.
Yeah, autoimmune deficiency that attacks the body, that it basically leaves her spots where she goes bald. So she's in a sense losing her hair.
But we're assuming that Chris Rock knows that.
Well, you know why I know he knows that?
Why?
Because he said, "I'm gonna be nice. This is a nice joke."
So he said
the GI 2. Well, it kind of alludes to that he
probably has something a little raunchier. Like being nice isn't necessarily an indication of I know what's going on.
No, he goes, "That was what?" He goes, "What? That was nice," because he said it, and the crowd goes, "Oh!" And he goes, "What? That was nice."
Yeah, he probably had something queued up that was probably even racier than that. You know? What I'm saying? Like, so I'm not gonna assume, because here's the deal, right? Prior to that slap, I didn't know what she had.
I had no clue either.
Exactly, and so we are leading with the belief that he cares enough to know what's going on with Jada. Like, I mean,
he probably got 1,000 things going on in his life.
He care less. What does Jada?
No, but I'm saying they publicized it. I mean, no, she publicized
it. But you didn't know. Oh, you didn't know, and he's his own celebrity. Why is he following some other celebrity?
No, but you know why? Because I'm pretty sure too. When he came up with these skits, when he came up with these skits, I told you they do their research, man. These comedians do their research.
At the same time,
that's maybe if you're doing a stand up.
They're also visual too.
Right?
Yeah,
they're also visual. It's not like he planned, "I'm gonna get on Jada Pinkett tonight."
Maybe she wrote it and he saw that and he's like, "Yo, I got." But some of it is off the cusp too, based on your surroundings.
Yeah,
like that's an easy joke to make up. Like I see her and I can see myself thinking like, "All right, it's kind of G.I. Jane-ish," you know what I'm saying? Because that's probably one of the first, especially if you're in a certain age range, one of the first movies that you identify. Really, if you think about it, like a strong female being like, "You know what, this here doesn't represent me. Sha, look at me now." You know what I'm saying? Like, so like. I get what you're saying, and maybe he did know. I'm not going to be completely dismissive of that, but I don't know if he knew. And I think to assume he did because he runs in those circles, like, they're celebrities, and if anybody should be tuned in, it's probably the fan base. You got 3 dudes here that didn't know prior to that situation what she had going on.
I had no clue. I just thought it was Jada doing Jada. Like
me too.
Cutting her hair and have it,
And especially when you think about their daughter, Willow, is that her name?
Yeah, Willow.
She's got a fairly low cut too, and has for quite some time. So,
but is that because of
again? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So you don't think he should have done that? I mean, I don't think you.
I don't think he should have done it.
Okay.
If he knew the condition.
Okay. No. I'm not talking about the joke. All right. Well, Chris Rock. I was talking about more so Will Smith. You don't think he should have done that?
No. Oh, definitely.
And the sad part about it is his accomplishment is overlooked by his action. So what he did, yeah. So basically, his Oscar is it's overlooked by what he did. I mean,
he's gonna have that asterisk next to it, right? Like, oh yeah, remember when Will? Oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh, you can't miss it.
When he
slap her to run the world.
Surpassed Kanye West.
What? In what?
As far as on stage antics.
Well, he interrupted her. He interrupted Chris Rock, but
because Kanye was just taking the mic.
Kanye is on a whole nother level, bro.
But slapping somebody is pretty.
Agreed. But with Kanye, a lot of it sometimes is at least unprompted from our perspective. Like people like, where'd he come from? Why is he up there right now? Why is he talking? Like in this case, we can actually there's a cause and effect, right?
Okay.
Chris cracked a joke. Will went up there and dealt a reckoning, right? Kanye, sometimes he's up there and he's like, well, where'd he come from? Why does he have the mic? What's he talking about? And it's real to him. And sometimes you can identify with it and sometimes you can't, so you never know. I think it's a little different.
So do you guys think, do you guys think they should allow these celebrities to get roasted while they're there?
Of course.
For these things?
I think so. I think it adds flavor. Yeah, of course.
Do you think there should be, like, some of the stuff should be censored? Like, if it hits something with your health, things you can't control, should it be more so like, hey.
That's based on you knowing there's a health issue. If you don't know, then, like.
But they have people there that hear these jokes. I know some stuff could be off the cuff, but they hear it all week long when they practice this stuff. These people practice this. These presenters, they also, most of the time they hear these sticks they have.
Yeah, but I've seen where comedians say, They'll have a routine,
right?
Or a sketch. But when they get on stage,
there's a lot of
something happens differently. When
they improvise.
They improvise.
Yeah.
Okay. This could be improvisation.
It doesn't take them out of their routine, but they add on based on things that they see, like visual cues, things that they know, like, oh, yeah, you're about to get roasted. Why'd you roll up wearing that? Yeah, you're about to get roasted.
Exactly.
We
would have to get into Chris Rock's head to answer these questions.
Gotcha.
Good questions.
Ultimately, Chris wasn't right. I mean, as far as the variation of degrees is, okay, is this person's offense, more egregious than the other? Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like Will's response just seemed really out of place. And some people may disagree and be like, oh, he was defending his lady. I think I saw that. Like somebody was like, oh, well, he was defending his lady. And it's like, come on, man, we can't do that. We can do that. Like you can have a conversation afterwards. You can even publicly shame him and be like, that was really in poor taste for him to be, cracking jokes about my wife that, there's a health issue. Like there's ways to go about sending your message. But
I feel like he was probably gonna do that. Probably have that in his mindset to like talk to him after the show. But I felt like he was pressed.
Yeah. By Jada. Yeah. By her expression,
I feel like he got pressed. Yeah. I feel like he had to do something right there, and he,
and I think he supported her like. He boycotted the Oscars one time because she was saying it's not black enough, it's a white whatever Oscar, and he supported her. So,
but did you hear how supposedly I'm not gonna say supposedly. Yeah. He says that since he did the role of being the father for Venus and Serena, he took it upon himself to be more of a protector for women, black women.
Oh wow!
Did you hear that?
No.
And did you also hear that also after the incident, for some reason? Denzel Washington and Tyler Perry, they comforted.
Yeah, I saw that.
Will Smith.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why not Chris Rock?
Oh,
he the one got slapped.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you going to Will. Yeah, Will.
That's a good point.
Why didn't go check on Chris Rock? You all right, bro?
That's cool. I guess.
I'm not mad about him defending his lady. I get it. I'm just saying, like, the execution of that was
an execution.
In given the stage, the people that are there, everything going on, that's not the message that we need to be sending.
That's right.
To anyone, let alone our community. And, if you guys have some ongoing beef, then you take that to the side. And
Mortal Kombat.
And I'm going to tell you this, too. I don't know the circumstances, but I almost feel like maybe Chris received the accumulation of frustration that Will has had to deal with in the last year or two with a whole bunch of things surrounding
that's
Jada,
what I think
right?
Too. I think it had to do with
I think there was a build-up, and Chris, unfortunately, was the receiving. He might have been the final straw, and
better have my money.
Right, and it's like when you mad and you can't direct that in other places. Sometimes,
gosh, yo,
sometimes
you heard me.
Get it, yeah,
yeah. I mean, I don't think it was the place or time, and I understand. A lot of that times, like even Pooja said, that thing surfaces. It's built up, and not necessarily. We all project our stuff on people that may not deserve it, but I just think he was fed up, and it has more so probably to do with their relationship and where their relationship's heading. And God knows, I mean,
Will's had to answer a lot of questions
and
about
she airs his relationship, his life, because his wife has the red table, right? Red table talk or something,
right?
So a lot of that shit's out there, and once it's public knowledge, man, it's kind of hard to bring that shit back.
No, it's out.
Yeah, and that just gives people they give people more ammo and stuff to talk about you. So anyway, so with that, we go into the next segment, man.
Oh, yes, of course. Here we go. So on March 17th, we had our first openly transgender woman to win an NCAA swimming title. Her name is Lia Thomas. So the question is it fair for a transgender woman to compete in women's sports? You guys think about that?
Man, that's such a loaded question. It's a loaded question because you want to be supportive of all communities, right? You want to be supportive of anyone that wants to compete, is willing to train and work hard and try to test their mettle and see if they're the best at something. You want to compete at the highest level. So I understand that piece of it. I also understand, the component where there are females that feel like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel fair, because on a biological level, couldn't get that word out. There are some differences, right? And, even with, treatments and stuff, it doesn't necessarily edge that out. And I think both sides have a fair argument, and I really don't know how you approach it without either side feeling either targeted and left out. And I think that's my biggest issue right here, is because I know there are huge supporters of the LGBTQ community that are saying, like, there's nothing wrong with this. Like, everyone should be able to compete. I recognize that. I respect that. But I also understand that, there are women who feel like, look, I've been in this sport forever. I've competed. I've worked my butt off to be here. And now I'm being asked to compete against someone that is different from me. And though I can identify, and you know what, I want everyone to feel like they have a place where they can compete. It's not exactly fair, and I think when you start targeting the other side and saying, oh, you're being small-minded and you're being a bigot, that's not fair either, Right. And I think that's the place that we find ourselves. Personally, if I'm talking off the grip, with the knowledge that I have, I feel like it's not fair. And maybe fair is a relative statement. So if we're talking about, all right, you're shooting pool or it's archery, okay, maybe that's a little different. But if it's like running or swimming where there's some level of physicality involved, understanding that there's a biological difference, maybe there's something there, maybe there isn't. I don't know. Maybe I've got to educate myself, but off the grip, if I'm just thinking fresh off the top. And I'm open to, any suggestions, recommendations, people that want to share their thoughts on this. Because, listen, I'm here to learn. I'm always trying to be a better version of myself. But right off the grip, if I'm being very straightforward, it doesn't feel fair to me. Right. Even though there's potential information that shows that you're not always necessarily, transgender women aren't necessarily a dominant force always when you kind of look at wins and time frames and stuff like that. But you still can't change the fact that there is a difference, I think that's where you get me.
So before I get on to Reggie, I didn't give like a little bit of background there. So what we have is there was Lia Thomas at one point was
a male swimmer.
A male swimmer, yeah.
Before you go there,
yes.
Yo, I was trying to share this meme that Ricardo showed me. So I had to make sure I do my research. So this dude,
yes,
when he was a boy, was it Lee? What was his name as a boy?
Will.
Will. So Will was ranked 462 as a male in swimming, and as a woman, he's ranked number 1. Bro. So there's this meme. I will put it in the thing. That's crazy. So there is a huge advantage, but I'll let you finish with that. I just thought that meme was interesting.
So Will Thomas, he actually, I know he ranked, what did you say, 462?
462.
But actually, also as well, when he swam for University of Penn, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
He actually was a pretty good swimmer.
Okay.
As a male. Like there were some races, I think the 500 where he I think he won a 500.
Oh, really?
500 if I'm not mistaken, it was a 500 freestyle. So he actually was a pretty decent swimmer.
Gotcha.
As a boy.
Okay.
So with that said, so with Will going to Lia, the advantage is that, or the rules for NCAA is that for a person to a transgender woman, which is male to female, for a person a transgender, they would have to go through testosterone suppression for a year.
That makes sense.
Because they believe that
gives an advantage.
It gives an advantage for testosterone. And what there's been like a lot of research on. I'm sorry, there hasn't been a lot of research on that as far as athletes. elite athletes.
Yeah.
It's been like a little bit of research, but the main person who's done a lot of research on this is Dr. Timothy Roberts. And he's a pediatrician and a professor at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. And he worked on transgender men and women from the Air Force. And because it's a military, he's able to track them from beginning to end. Okay. And so primarily for the first year, if you go from a man to a woman, you still have a great advantage.
Okay.
But after 2 years, the gap tightens, but you're still able to run faster than a woman by 12%.
Okay.
So you'll always be able to run. I'm sorry.
The problem is this. This is the problem.
Yeah.
We don't have enough data.
Got you.
Long-term data that's tracked a transgender woman, an elite transgender woman, over a long period of time to see without testosterone, to see how that would affect their bodies and will we become even as far as women and men. We don't know that yet. But there is data that shows that there is a decline in strength. Mm-hmm. There's a decline in as far as endurance as they have suppression of testosterone. So
ultimately what we're saying is through the treatments that this somehow creates a handicap on a transgender woman's potential strength or but yet testosterone that somehow evens the playing field, because it doesn't sound like it's necessarily evening the playing field. It sounds like, you know what, you're putting that individual a little closer to the playing field, and I think that's where it gets complicated, right? Because even if you're saying that, okay, well, it's not a large margin, you know, using the example as the running, like it's only 12%. Well, technically, isn't that still an advantage?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
you know, and I think that's what it comes down to. Like, I think both things can be true, right? You can recognize that we need to create a space where everyone competing is comfortable, and it's not just exclusive to one grouping. But in order to do that, there needs to be communication. And you have to figure out a way to create that space while making it perfectly fair. Fair in the sense that, all right, you may be taller, you may be leaner, you may be stronger, but you know what? We know that there was a starting point where, you know, we all carry, there's some equality. And I think that's where it gets tough. And maybe with more research, you know, it's another thing to us thinking like, well, what happens if you kind of put it to a vote to the females operating in that space, right? Like, I don't know how you make it fair. That's the thing. Like, I don't know how you do it. So what if it's a situation where it's like, okay, well, you know, we're going to put this to a vote. You know, we're going to rally, you know, the multitude of females operating in this particular sport to get them to weigh in and see how they feel about it. And if the majority of the vote comes back and says like, yo, I'm okay with this, then guess what? Play ball, because you know what, like, and maybe that number is set, I don't know, 60%, 70%.
But that sounds like a great idea. But think about it like this. What if the vote was about black people? Should we allow them into our race? I mean, when you do a vote based on what the majority wants,
pretty good question.
It sounds great off surface level, but if I'm just going to use it as just say if it was blacks or Mexicans or Asians or just if you try to,
So then how do you bridge the barrier? Because what the other thing is, what you can't argue is that, you know what, at the end of the day, you're not comparing apples to apples.
That's correct.
So at some point you have to figure out a way to communicate and, just to say like, this is what it is, you got to deal with it. That doesn't necessarily feel fair, right?
So what they've done is, the old rules were, if I'm speaking just for transgender women, men to women, it was just 1 year of suppression of testosterone, and then I'm sorry, back in the day used to be where you for the Olympics, it was kind of crazy. It was 1 year of suppression for testosterone, and then you had to have a full change of genitals.
Okay.
Ooh.
right? Then they changed that, and it's just 1 year of suppression. Now, because of what happened with the race, they made it where any sport in the NCAA is case by case.
Okay.
So it isn't like a blanket where it's one rule for all.
Right.
They do it case by case.
Doesn't that get tricky when there isn't a clear guideline?
It does, but the swimming, USA Swimming, it made it even more stringent. What they did was they want a 3 year of suppression of testosterone. 3 years.
3 years. Wow.
After 3 years, then you can race.
Okay.
So I mean, the thing about it is there isn't a clear cut answer.
Right.
But we have to have data. We have to learn.
Right. We have to have the conversations, right?
Right. Because we can't just say no, you can't.
Right.
I mean, we have to figure out what is best.
And
for
the thing
everyone.
is, even if you're going to say yes, you can, you still have to allow an outlet to the people that feel some kind of way, right? And I think that's where it gets tricky. It's not all in or all out. I'm not mad that a transgender woman can participate. All right. The same way you can't be mad if someone feels some kind of way about it. And that's where it feels like it gets a little tricky. It's like, if you say something, you're a bigot, and it's kind of like, that's not fair exactly either.
That's true, dude.
No one's really,
I know.
No one's really, these conversations are new. It's not something that, and maybe not new, but we're at a place where we recognize that, hey, this is something that is a part of life, and this is something that we now need to embark on having the conversations and finding a way where maybe not everyone is comfortable, but hopefully the masses are, right? That's what you kind of hope for.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so to me, wouldn't it be easier if they came up with a transgender group, not group, but
their own race,
category? Race. When you say race, I was like, you mean race of humans?
No,
you mean race like you're meat.
Own.
They're meat. Yeah. Okay, cool. I was like, category. So if they came up with that, I think it'd be that would be a better playing field in a sense, because now you got because the women the men that were women are not going to have an advantage actually in the men. Shit, this is just all over the place. Think about it,
because there are a lot of terms,
yeah,
that
because
confusing.
Because I'm like, let's say for instance, if you're a woman and you became a man, right? Then you have you're disadvantaged already,
and they don't have any rules for them. They okay.
No, but I'm saying if you put them in the same group, it's going to be messed up anyway.
You know why?
No, someone help me understand why. Why is there no questions, no issues raised around that?
Because they feel like they're not going to do anything anyway.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what they feel like. They feel like they are women, so they're not strong enough. Fat. I'm assuming they're not strong enough, fast enough, so they're not going to beat us anyway. So why should we have Why should we treat them, or why should we give them a handicap? We shouldn't.
I'm glad you mentioned that, right? Because in the concept of all things is fair, if we were sitting down watching an MMA match, and it was male versus female, right? And female is just whomping on this dude, right? Like just whomping on him, beats him. As dudes, we're going to be like, yo, go girl, go with your bad self. Like, you're going to celebrate.
Right.
Now you take that same scenario and you flip it, and you've got a male here that's just absolutely obliterating this female. That's not good for right? It's not something we could watch. People would be in an uproar, and it'll be like, and that's why I say the concept of all things are fair. That's a great concept, but in practice, it doesn't always, it doesn't always carry well.
Okay, so look. Okay, so Lia, yes, she was #1 swimmer this year, right? She won a lot of races and was supposed to be smashing all the records. Yeah. But due to Newsweek, they did some research. The data suggests that while Thomas was the fastest swimmer in the category this season, she actually would have been the fastest swimmer in only one of the last 10 seasons. So in most of those previous years, her fastest time would only have gotten her to second at the most. And in 1 year, she would have been as low as 12th.
You know what, for men or for women?
No, for women.
So wow. So that's pretty
women.
Impressive, yeah.
So even though, yes, we're dealing with a man who became a woman.
He's not the best man.
He isn't. I'm
sorry. Yo, that sounded wrong, but he ain't the best of us, yo. This dude ain't even our best, but God.
And the only other season that she would have gotten the fastest time was in 2019 and 2020.
Yeah.
So
so as far as long-term stats, that makes sense, but how does that apply to the females that competed this year? You know, because it's like if I'm competing this year, I know what happened last year. Yeah, maybe I'm not going to break any records, but you know what? I'm here to compete now, and I want to win now.
You know, I'm gonna just say this right here. So in every sport or any job or whatever, we evolve, we learn, right? For instance, I used to work on a railroad, right? A lot of rules we made for the railroad were made in blood. We learned from that stuff. We learned because people died from it. Unfortunately, the rules are made to better, but somebody had to suffer because of it.
Right.
So in us adding transgender women and men into a certain sport or field or whatnot, they're going to be winners and losers.
Right.
This is how it's going to be until we learn the data, get the data, and we evolve. We have to learn from our mistakes.
Right.
So that's how we become a better sport. We become better as far as understanding. We can become where we don't feel so negative about it, because I'm gonna be honest. Everyone that I asked about it always was negative.
Yeah.
Because we kind of have like a thought in our head, like it's Joanna Man, the movie Joanna Man. Where
that's what I'm saying. There's negativity on both sides.
You feel like it's actually a person who just trying to get an advantage.
Yeah.
When we have real issues like gender dysphoria, where you're a man or you're a woman, but you're not comfortable being a man or a woman.
Yeah.
So I mean, for a person to want to do this, be a transgender woman or transgender man, they're not doing it for, to be number one in the U.S. or the best. I mean, it comes at a cost. You lose your friends. Sometimes you lose your family. You lose your privacy.
Yeah.
I mean, you can lose yourself as well, because even though you're making this transition and you think you're becoming happy, when the world is picking on you, I mean, it could be emotionally, mentally devastating to some people. So
the thing is that's where it gets interesting, because it doesn't start or stop with Lia, right? It's everyone that's involved. It's the people she's competing about, right? It's the heat that the NCAA is dealing with right now as far as trying to find the answer. But I thought what you said, it was so well put. Like, these things need to happen in order for us to improve. Unfortunately, there's not always an easy fix. It's not always an easy answer. And, unfortunately, there are sometimes dire consequences before we can move forward, in order to learn from our, our mistakes or how we can improve. So that was really well put.
Yeah.
Let me ask your thoughts. Like, I don't know if I got like your official thoughts on it. Like, where do you stand on?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Just like you said, you don't want to be a bigot, you don't want to be this, but there's how sensitive our society is, man. It's like, this is something else you can't speak on, because it's like, is there a right? Is there a wrong? But in the same sense, you want to be fair. So you got to imagine what it is for these, let's say these women that are like fighting for all these rights, for inclusion and equality, right? For transgenders and whatnot, and LBGQ. And let's say you're a collegiate athlete, and next your scholarship's up for grabs by someone you're fighting for these rights for, and all of a sudden your shit is like, you know what I mean? Like, how that must feel. It may, I don't know if it might feel like a betrayal or how they, I'm just thinking it from a woman's perspective. Like, damn, this is something else I have to fight. And I don't even know if they think of it like I got to fight a man for, you know what I mean? Like, oh shit, now this is, like you said, now this is jumping into my category. And it's like, oh my gosh, not only I was competing for, a man to get this position as far as, but now I'm competing for a man for my own gender. So I just think of it from that perspective. That's why I said it has to be in order to like make it fair. But then you exclude, but then you do what you do the total opposite of what you're trying to do. You defeat the purpose, because if you create a category from now, you're excluding them again.
Now it's exclusion, exactly.
And now they're looked upon again, and now they're outed and feeling. Yeah, man, it's just really a subject. There's no right or wrong. Like you said, you need data, you need experience to see how things go. But I mean, kudos to people that are trying to deal with it, because I don't know I wouldn't know which way to go.
Well, I spoke to a transgender man, which is going to be a woman to a man.
Yeah,
I really wanted to get someone on the show, but it's kind of hard to do that without them being. What's the word? Criticized or victimized. So
I got you.
So I just wanted to ask a simple question to them: was, do you think it was fair for Lia Thomas?
Yeah,
and they also they agree with us that it wasn't fair because of their answer was because of the time frame of them still only being a year removed from being a man.
Mm-hmm.
They also believe that as time goes on, you lose the muscle,
the mass,
the muscle mass, the strength as time goes on. Because there was this, remember in the Olympics, the transgender woman who was a man who became a woman that was in the powerlifting from New Zealand. And
I did
remember
read
that?
about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He wasn't able to make it. He wasn't able to do he wasn't able to bring up his waist above his head.
Oh, really? Was that a jerk?
I'm sorry,
clean and jerk.
Head. Yeah.
What is it?
No, it wasn't clean and jerk. It was just the one when you hold it up.
Oh, okay.
So I think she had 3 attempts.
Oh, wow.
Could not make one of them. I watched it and I was like, whoa, like that's crazy how. But she took somebody else's spot and could not make the cut. Could not make it. But she was a man at one time, and now is a woman. So maybe that had it played a part into her strength, her ability to be able to hold on to the weight. I don't know. So
well, it's a touchy topic, and I mean, I don't think this will be going on for quite some time until it's considered normalcy. Right now, we're still in the damn
in the learning stage.
Yeah, we're in the learning stage of I would say premature.
We are. We're still gathering data.
Yeah, right now. So yeah.
And Bro-RantZ family, you know how we roll, right? We're open to feedback, your thoughts, any criticism. We sit up here and we joke a lot, but we try to be very mindful on the topics that we cover and the individuals and how they're impacted by these topics. So, if there's something that was said today that you felt was maybe not
accurate,
tasteful, or was, it wasn't executed, there's areas for improvement, please share. We are open. I'm open to learning. Like I said, the goal is always to be a better version of yourself. And when I provide my stance on it, again, I openly admit there's some ignorance there, right? Because this isn't something that you're able to learn in just a couple of nights. You can do the research, you could dig in, but I kind of keep falling back to the same space, and maybe that's because we have a lack of information at this point. But I'm open, we're open, so please share, let us know.
Yeah, gotcha. I agree with that, because there's so many terms. Just learning the difference between transgender woman, transgender man, cisgender, gender dysphoria, gender fluidity, and there's many more terms that I didn't even. I mean, I wanted to put on the show, but I was like, it's so in depth. Like,
yes,
it's so much that I don't think we have enough time to cover.
You might do a disservice trying to do that.
I was getting a headache.
So it's funny you mention that, because I reached out to the youngins up on my way, right? Because they are very forward thinking, and they are big supporters of the LGBTQ community. So I reached out to them. I said, all right, ladies, and we're talking about 17-year-old, 15-year-old, because they have a different perspective on things, and so I asked them. I said, so what are your thoughts on that? And one of them was like, give me a little bit to think about it. And the other one, the 15-year-old, she was like, I find it fair, depending on how long that person has been receiving their treatments, because you said, the science shows that you start to lose that muscle mass. So for her, it was fair, as long as there was a treatment plan in place and the time of that treatment. Her concerns were something you mentioned earlier, people claiming to be a transgender woman for the sole purpose of competing with an edge. And I think that's why it was very important to her that there be some type of structure behind how and when you could participate. Something that was also very important to her. So, guys, when you talk about this, please be mindful of, all the parties involved, because these are people that just want to live their life, right? And, every day is a challenge and a struggle. So, be kind, be thoughtful. And something else that she also mentioned was, be very precise, as far as use of pronouns, because that's very important, So it's weird, and when you're older, you're so used to giving advice on how to navigate the world and how to do certain things. And here I am talking to 15 and 17-year-olds, and they're coaching me on certain things. I think I'm pretty laid back and open-minded. It's whatever. I believe in live your life, right? Be the best version of you that you can be. Be thoughtful, be courteous, be respectful, and you know what? Try not to infringe on anybody's space unless they force you into that situation, right? But it was still a really interesting interaction between them, just kind of sharing and hearing their takes. But the 17-year-old, she circled back with me, and she's like, you know what? I thought about it. She's like, I think that it should be conditioned on the type of sport, because, if there's some physicality involved, maybe you need to explore, if that qualifies and at what point that person's qualified. But if you're doing something like archery or maybe billiards, shooting pool, there really isn't much of an advantage in that space. And at that point, it's play ball. And I also found that to be an interesting take as well.
That's why they're going, probably that's why they're going the way they're going now with sport by sport versus having that one blanket rule.
Right.
Except for swimming, where they going stringent as far as 3 years of the treatment. 3 years.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, I mean, I think we touched on the subject pretty good on that. From being a couple of guys here, a couple of bros.
Really proud of you, Ray. That was really well done, man.
A
couple of bros, a few.
Okay, all right,
a few bros. So yeah, we're gonna segue into the next segment.
Yes,
on that we'll be back.
Hi, Bro-RantZ family. We're hopping from one controversial topic right into another one because this is what we do here, all right? Especially on a Taco Tuesday. So today we're going to be tapping into our boy, Deshaun Watson, all right? For those of you that are not up to speed, Dashaun has not played since 2020 because of sexual misconduct allegations.
Yeah.
This coming from 22 women. Now, as of recently, there's been a lot of he's been in the news quite a bit because we know he sat out the season. There was questions and rumblings about him potentially going elsewhere, and that's exactly what took place. The Cleveland Browns came in, swooped him up, gave him a fresh contract, paid him a bunch of guaranteed coin, all the while these allegations still lingering about. And when asked about what's going on there and, what efforts they put into this, they claimed that they did an extensive investigation and felt comfortable with the outcome of the information provided. Now, the lawyer for these 22 ladies confirmed that the Cleveland Browns never reached out to him, which makes sense because, with an ongoing investigation, that just kind of crosses weird lines and barriers. But I guess to kind of support Cleveland's decision, there's been 2 recent rulings from grand juries that have found him innocent. And so now we're at a place of, at least for me anyway, I'm trying to figure out what is, if any, the appropriate disciplinary action that should have or should, as in current, be, given out by the NFL. You know, and I want to provide some context when I say that, right? I am a huge component. I'm a huge fan of innocent until proven guilty.
Okay.
Some people will say, well, if it was one woman, then you know what? It's not a problem. But there's 22. If there's 22, then there's clearly some type of ongoing behavior there. And even though he may not be found guilty in a court of law, you know what? You don't necessarily need to be found guilty by a court of law in order for the NFL to kind of go ahead and provide some type of disciplinary action for violation of their conduct code. So I want to start at the beginning. Mm-hmm. These allegations come out. He sits out 2020. He doesn't play. Do we feel like that was appropriate or there should have been more? Should the NFL have done more? Because to date, the NFL has just kind of come out saying like, "Hey, we're following this closely," and you know what? We haven't made any decisions yet. There's been no definitive action that's going to be taking place as of right now, as we continue to see how this thing plays out and how it unfolds.
I think they're waiting on a legal case as far as versus a civil case,
right?
Because when it comes to the NFL. When it comes to like cases like this kind of case, that isn't for them. That's not a black and white case. When I say black and white, I don't mean like black versus white people. What I mean by that is they don't. It isn't like
cut and dry.
Cut and dry.
It's gray.
This is gray for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not one of their because there's no video.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's no video, and it's only allegations,
right?
And there is no I don't really want to say it, but President Clinton, there was no evidence.
There's no body fluid.
I never touched that woman.
I mean, there was, but they didn't keep it
till the dress showed up.
So that's I think
there wasn't. They didn't keep it.
They're waiting. I think they're still waiting.
So have any of you guys actually checked out the allegations?
I didn't check out the.
When you say check out, what do you mean?
Like, did you read up on the descriptions provided by a lot of these ladies?
Yes.
Like, now again, this could all. The information provided could be very intentional, but it clearly seemed to be some repeat patterns.
There is a pattern.
Every single one, from how and where they were found and selected and contacted to how some of these interactions took place. There just seemed to be a repeat pattern and behavior there. Now, here's the thing: I can say anything about someone doing something to me, but
right.
It just seemed, I was reading it, and sometimes you go into these situations and you're like, okay, well, I don't know who's telling the truth, so I'm just going to wait for more information to come out. And so reading through these allegations by like the fourth or fifth one, I'm kind of like scratching my head like, but then I kind of go into a different thought process, right? Like, what about the instances of these ladies that continued to see him and provide services even after like their initial interaction had gone south, and again, it's not about placing judgment, but it's kind of like the first one went south and you saw him maybe a second and a third time. Like, I don't understand that. Like, maybe it's your financial circumstances. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I don't know. But
didn't R. Kelly have allegations and then he still have concerts and people still went?
Right, but the thing is, those people weren't in the room when R. Kelly was doing his thing. These ladies were actually providing services where, he would display some of these behaviors and do some of these things. And it's kind of like, but if you dealt with that like first session, why would you even contemplate a second or a third session?
Not all women did that.
Not all of them, but there were some.
There were some.
Yeah,
there were some, and they probably were thirsty. But I know there's one article I read from Sports Illustrated where she's not in the lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there, I mean, like, and then you read the other allegations. It's basically the same thing about the towel being too itchy. And he doesn't want to wear a sheet. And
get into my glutes and
use your fingers.
Right, use your fingers
versus your knuckles.
Right.
And the upward thrust and also if it's in your way, you can move it.
Yeah. And it is not the towel.
And that's consistent.
Yeah.
It's consistent. I mean, that's a pattern, man. Come on. And how he's getting his women off of Instagram.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like even that is kind of like,
that's like,
okay, so you are a multimillionaire. Just to provide some context to the viewers. I'm sorry, Rich, we're going to say something.
No, go ahead, bro.
Just to provide some context, right? So Dashaun is a promising talent, right? Like this guy is like top notch, like almost elite status as far as the quarterback position. So on April 28, 2020, the Texans exercised a 5th-year option on his contract, right? On September 5th, he signed a 4-year, $177.5 million contract extension with $111 million in guarantees, right? Keeping him under contract through 2025. This was like, for that time frame, the second highest contract for that season, right? So that's April 28, 2020, right? He doesn't play the 2020 season. There's all kinds of questions, speculations, allegations. People don't know, is he up for trade? Can we look into him? And now we fast forward. Now, like I said, this was September 2020, right? We fast forward, and then here we have on March 18th of this year, Watson and the Texans, a 6th-round draft pick, was traded to the Cleveland Browns in exchange for first-round draft picks in 22, 23, and 24, as well as a Browns 3rd-round pick in 2023, right? And he is going to be he signed a new contract for 5 years for $230 million, all right, making it the largest contract with the most guaranteed money, all right, which I believe is like 140 of it, or is it like 150 of it is guaranteed, right?
Did you know that Cleveland was out of the running at first?
Yes, because he said no.
Yeah.
Right?
I saw
he was
that.
like, nah, and then
It's cold here. I don't want to go anywhere cold.
right. And then somehow they found themselves back in the running, and I don't know if it's a money deal or
it's called guaranteed money.
right. Exactly. Guaranteed money changes the game.
Yes,
right?
guaranteed.
So here is where it takes us into our second question. This guy hasn't played a lick of football,
Right.
okay, in over a year.
Yes.
Signed a recent contract with the Texans.
Yep.
Basically said he wanted out. All these things happened. And then here we have the Browns come back, give him a fresh contract, understanding all the pending allegations, give him the most guaranteed money. And here's the deal. This is what I found super interesting as far as how this deal is structured. If the NFL should implement some type of disciplinary action, and if there's any type of financial piece or component to it, it's actually going to be it'll actually fall against his old contract, which I think at this point there's like $1 million on it left. But all of this new money that he made is guaranteed; it won't be touched.
Right.
So, are we? What are we saying, and what is the message that's being sent here? Are we saying that performance outweighs consequence?
Talent trumps drama, or problems or issues. Talent trumps problems. That's what happens in the NFL. If you have talent and you're young, you're good to go.
Antonio Brown,
he
case in point.
Yeah, he had talent, but he was crazy.
Yeah,
he was some crazy stuff. People still want him today.
I was about to say, I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up on somebody's roster next season.
Do you remember Greg Hardy?
Yes.
Do you know what he did?
Nah, see, I don't know these football guys. I know,
bro. He had a domestic issue with his wife. I think he was even convicted guilty, and the Cowboys still kept him.
That's not the one that smacked his girlfriend or whatever in the elevator.
Oh, no. That's Ray Rice.
That's Ray Rice.
That's Ray Rice.
That was some.
Well, because of his age, and he wasn't as he was.
Yeah, he was already like a step.
So that's why he's gone. But if you're good, they're gonna keep you. Kareem Hunt, running back for the Browns. The Chiefs had him. He had an issue with his girl. They cut him. They try to look like they was doing a good thing. The Browns picked him up immediately.
Well, touching on that, right? Because I wanted to provide some examples of, where does performance and consequence, like where's the middle ground, right? And it's funny you mentioned Kareem Hunt because I looked into that. So recent news within the NFL is that they suspended Falcon player Calvin Ridley, right? They suspended him for the entire 2022 season because he was betting on games. Right, he bet. I think he said like a total of $1,500. That was viewed as compromising the integrity of the game, and you know what? They suspended him for the whole season. Okay,
remember my first comment?
Yeah,
that's black and white.
Yeah, seems like
there's no gray in that one.
Yeah, seems like that was their argument. Okay, well, you know what? There's no arguments here. He's guilty, and so there's a consequence to be paid, but. Let's circle back on Kareem Hunt, right? Because we have Kareem Hunt, who was only suspended for 8 games, and they actually had footage of him shoving and kicking a woman. So what are we saying? Are we saying that a woman's value falls below the integrity of the NFL? Wow.
Well, what are the rules on what do you want to call it? Domestic abuse?
Yeah, domestic violence.
The rules are not black and white. It's not like you're suspended indefinitely for that action.
Agreed. I think it starts at like 6 games and it can work its way up. But what I'm saying to you, Ray, is this: like I hear what you're saying, but
it's not as important.
They had video footage.
Yes.
This wasn't a situation was like he say, she say. They had actual video footage, and they found 8 games to be a proper response. But this guy that wasn't even playing, now granted, he was still on the roster, but he wasn't playing. Calvin Ridley, I believe he was away for mental health issues. He was betting on these games. They were like, oh, no, sir, you're suspended the entire season. Now, possibly, you know what, he can go and challenge that, and maybe it may get reduced. I don't know. But don't you feel like that sends the wrong message? And again, this is no knock on Dashaun. I don't know whether the man is guilty or not. We're just reading the information provided. We don't have access to his lawyers or Dashaun, and we're trying to put the pieces together. So I'm not here to discuss Dashaun's, what his current status is, whether he's innocent or guilty. But what we are trying to say is like, where do we draw the line? Is the entertainment portion of it so great that we're willing to look the other way as fans, as owners, as people running the team? And clearly that's what it appears to be. As long as you're winning, whatever you're doing out there, as long as it's not so egregious that maybe you killed somebody, we got room on the roster for you. And especially when you compare the punishments, if they had given this guy 6-8 games for betting, we'd still be questioning it. But to suspend him for the whole season and then see like a physical assault on a female and be like, that's 8 games. That sends a bad message. And I want to say I heard a stat that as far as fan base goes, women make up like a solid percentage of the fan base. I want to say like maybe it's like 30-something%, if not more.
Yeah, but NFL is still king in sports. NFL is still the king. And until they see a drop in merchandise or ticket sales or viewership, nothing's going to change. Yeah. And also, as far as NFL or MLB, to them, gambling is the cardinal sin. Right. Over everything. That's number one. Anything else is, I don't know, 3, 4, 5. But if it's gambling, I mean, you're done. I mean, look at Pete Rose.
Right.
He can't get into the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Gambling is number one to the NFL. Domestic abuse, what Deshaun Watson is doing, yes, it's bad for the sport. It's bad the way it looks. They don't care because he has talent. As long as he has got talent, it doesn't make a difference. If they make a rule where they say, if they just make a clear cut and final, like saying, if you do this, you're done, it might change. It might curb stuff, but He has talent. He's young.
And I'm happy you mentioned that because that was going to be my argument. So, we had the quarterback rules that have been recently implemented in the last few years where, they're really trying to protect the quarterbacks. Yeah. And that was like a hard pill to swallow for the longest, right? Yes. But we see the players have acclimated. I think you see a lot less penalties than when the rule was first implemented, right? Even with the taunting thing, I think it's stupid.
Taunting is dumbest.
It's the stupidest thing ever. I understand you want to get the game underway. So, anything that you think is a little outlandish, you call. I still think it's fairly stupid. But even then, you see that the players have adapted. They've acclimated. So there's an argument. There's actual case study from the NFL itself as far as when they implement rules and consequences where, the players will adhere. The organizations will adhere. And that's why I think it's especially bad. Maybe not so much in the Dashaun case because that's still unfolding, right? We're hearing a lot from the other side. We're not hearing a whole lot from Dashaun. He still continues to maintain his innocence, even though there were attempts made to try and settle and stuff like that. But he's maintaining his innocence. But when you do have some of these real time scenarios of, okay, well, this is how much this guy got for this versus what this guy got for that. That's a bad look, man.
Yeah, and they're not going to change until we as the people make them change. It's all about dollars,
Oh, that's what everything's about.
So it's very interesting, though, that you made that point, though. I mean, like you said, here's a woman who's been on camera, hit, beaten.
Yeah.
And he's still playing in the NFL, right? But if a guy bets, what, $1,500?
$1,500,
wow. Right? He's gone for the whole season,
and he wasn't even playing. He wasn't even on the active roster.
Yeah, he wasn't even playing.
Yeah, man. that's a bad look, and I think I know it's been covered by a couple of the other sport pundits, and it's just it's a bad look, and personally, if I'm a female and I'm following the NFL, I'm like, I got to let my outrage be known. Like, that would be me. Like, I'm letting you know, like, okay, cool. Clearly, the betting is more important. Okay, cool. I'm not watching your product. I'm not buying any of your merch. And you know what? I'm not going to continue to do that until you improve upon your disciplinary actions and protocols and follow through. Sure, but you said, NFL is king.
Yeah, that might be the next Me Too movement for that.
Right. The only time I've ever seen like a public outcry for the NFL, seriously, is when Colin Kaepernick
I knew it. Yeah.
Wow. That's the only time. And the crazy thing about it is, like, I just had a guy recently come up to me and talk to me about that. It was a white guy. And I talked to him about football, and I said, hey, you watch the football games this weekend? And he was like, I don't watch football no more or whatever. And then I was like, actually, I said basketball. I said the games, and he thought I meant football. And he said he don't watch it anymore. And he said ever since Colin Kaepernick. So I let him speak on it, right?
Yeah.
And he talked about the kneeling for Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
What they don't realize is that at first, Colin Kaepernick didn't kneel. He sat down on the stands. Right. I mean, in the seats.
Yeah.
And a Green Beret, a white Green Beret who played football, came up to him and said, "Hey, to show tribute to the fallen soldiers, how about you kneel so you don't make anybody angry." To show tribute to soldiers.
Yeah.
So a white Green Beret told Colin Kaepernick to kneel because that would be better looking than you sitting down. So he did that. And what happened? What happened after that? It went crazy.
It turned into this.
I mean, was that true though, or did he set him up? Yo, it'd be good.
I'm gonna get you out of here, bro.
Yeah, Green Beret.
Hey, you know what's even crazy is that Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Not Lynch. Marshawn Lynch sat on the bleachers for like, I don't know, 11 years. 11 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Never stood up for the flag.
Wow.
Nothing happened to him.
That's great. And in defense with Deshaun Watson, I mean, he had a masseuse that he worked with closely, and he never. I think a couple years.
This in defense.
In defense, like a few years that he's had him, and he said once he started changing, like she was like, "Who else are you working with?" I guess opening up. With these Instagram models and whatever, he was like, "Who else are you working with? What?" Because he has a team that he works with for different parts, and let's say a chiropractor or something like that. Mm-hmm. So he was like, she was like, I had to let him go, not because of anything inappropriate he did. It was just like, I didn't know he was working with. And I also text him like, hey, like, you got to be careful who you're allowing to come around you. So I wouldn't, I'm not putting anything against or assumptions, but there's always been conspiracies. There's always been, and
I'm with you.
Shit that can happen, like for 22 women and them all be IGs, and you have a lawyer, and all you need is the connection to the lawyer. And then they also had something with the lawyer was connected to the owner of the team that he was with, or so. There's some conspiracies because he wanted to trade.
It's funny because you
so
say
much
that,
stuff.
and I felt that when the timing of it felt so convenient.
So I looked into it. Once you mentioned it, I looked into it. I was like, let me find out what Jeff is talking about because he wants to. And I was like, yo, there's conspiracies, and I was like, wow, this dude wanted to trade, and then all of a sudden these things pop up.
What about this? There are other NFL players. Let's just say a few. I'm gonna give you like a few examples of like NFL players who have massage therapists, right? Okay. When you ask them, and these guys have been in the league 15, 16, 13, 14, 10 years. Yeah. When they ask them how many massage therapists you had, the average answer is maybe 3.
But you're talking about people that are in a different time in age, because now the social media, right? So now you have these women that you have this. So I'm talking about as far, you said over the years, like 13 something years.
13 years. If you have 3 massage therapists in 13 years,
I see where he's going with this.
Yeah, I see where you're going with. No, I see where you're going with that. But then you have, like I said, here's the thing: you have the Instagram and stuff like that. So you have these people that either are professional or semi-professional.
When's the last time you purchased services from anyone on Instagram?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. But listen, this is what I'm trying to say. They're promoting themselves. He's seeing it. They're following him, or he's following them, and maybe they're promoting them stuff as a hot whatever.
You drink Monster,
masseuse,
right?
Yeah, hot masseuse, whatever, right?
How many Monster flavors do you drink?
Just this one, because I've tried the other ones. But
you found your one though, right?
I found the one, but here's the thing: he's got options, bro. If you want to try some things up,
I'm taking a complete opposite approach to that. But I don't have Deshaun Watson's money, and yet still, regardless of where I'm at, I'm trying to find the best person at their craft when I'm soliciting some type of service, when I'm purchasing something. He's got resources and money beyond me. And he's on Instagram,
which allows him to have different choices. He can have different monsters and flavors. Yo, we don't know about that. He got money.
He got over 22 choices
what I'm trying
right now.
Yo, you know what? 22 that we know of.
Right.
It could be way more
Again,
than that.
I'm not here to question whether that man is innocent or not. I'm just saying, like,
only 22
we're talking about a multimillionaire that has access to resources at a sports facility.
And other players.
That can come to his home. Other players has been in the league longer that can recommend
But listen,
people.
he's a simple man. He's simple as far as
22 women.
And
He ain't that simple.
No. I'm saying
this is why he's dealing with these consequences.
He ain't that simple.
All I'm saying is it's possibility.
He got a pattern.
But listen, he's in the age where at the end of the day, you gotta associate it with the dating world and so on and so forth. He can switch for flavor and go for flavor.
Agreed.
So he can do it. You can do it on a business level.
Move it if you need to.
So listen. How many restaurants have you guys eaten at? Since you mentioned Monster, you don't. How many restaurants have you eaten at? See, that's what I'm saying.
This is the towel I show up with. This is enough right here.
Bro.
Yo. Am I covered with this?
Yo.
This is too much. This is itchy.
On that note, Bro-RantZ. We are out.
We out. Yeah.
We out.
Like, subscribe, share.
Love you, Bro-RantZ family.
Yo. Peace.
Touch it if you want to.